Welcome to the second lesson of Salesforce Platform Developer 1 course. This lesson is all about data modeling and management. This is one of the core topics and part of Salesforce certification, and this is my second favorite topic after Apex programming. This is also very important as it is going to become your base for programming. You are going to understand the concepts of the data model and the different fields, how the relationships are going to get created, and the same you are going to use while doing programming on Salesforce. Before we begin, myself Ajay, I am a certified Salesforce expert and I'm going to take you through this journey. Let's jump on to the next slide. So agenda of this particular course is going to be Salesforce CRM standard data model. Leads, accounts, contacts, there are different objects in Salesforce world being part of both service and sales of Salesforce. Next we will look around how to create different relationships between different objects, how to understand a particular requirement and come up with the right objects, fields, so on. Meanwhile, at the end I'll also try to come up with real-world scenarios, like with industries related to manufacturing, retail and finance. I'll give you exact scenarios which I have faced in my experience. Before we end this particular session, I'll also come up with some Apex code examples on how to actually fetch the data, how the relationships are built, and how we are going to utilize it in our Apex coding. Let's quickly begin the course. Jump on to next slide. Let me begin with Salesforce CRM data model. Salesforce CRM's default object and relationships are pretty much useful. We also have Salesforce as sales and service part, and both of them correlate with each other with some common objects and fields. We have a default data model already in place. Salesforce as a product have matured in past couple of years. They have also added couple of new objects like order, contracts and further on, which have brought in the Salesforce as a product in a more better way. I will start with campaign. So campaign is a particular object in which we run different campaigns to generate leads, and each lead member which is being generated via a campaign have a relationship with the campaign itself via campaign members. Now these all details related to campaign are stored in the campaign object, and the leads which get generated get stored in the lead object itself as different records, and those properties like lead first name, last name, phone number, contact details and everything else gets stored or is manually stored in lead object. Further down the line, when a lead particularly gets converted into an account, couple of contacts, then an entire life cycle of account comes into the picture. Account can have different contacts related to them. Account can be a person account or a business account, and a particular account can also have different cases going on, obviously from the service world of Salesforce CRM. On the sales side, account can have couple of opportunities. Opportunity is nothing but a deal which is like a product when we are trying to sell to a particular person or a particular company, and their own detailed relationships. So before we jump on to our next slide, let me show you how things work around in Salesforce. As I mentioned, so we have campaigns and we also
can create a couple of campaigns. As you can see, we'll have to just go ahead and go on the tab of campaign and create a new campaign. I'm going to create a newspaper advertisement campaign, and I can have a start date, end date for this particular campaign for the duration for which I'll be running this campaign for a month or so. I can have expected revenue, budget cost, and so on. So these all fields are pretty much standard in Salesforce. They are provided as a startup so that we can go ahead and start using the CRM itself. So once I click on save campaign, I can go ahead and add campaign members. So campaign members can be a contact, a lead on which we are going to run a particular campaign. So in the same way, we can get the leads created. In under leads also, you can see that we can store different information. So these all are the fields, and their corresponding records gets created whenever we click on save, and so on. We also have, once a particular lead gets converted, it creates an account, contact, and on a configurational wise, we can also create opportunity as well from that particular lead. So these all objects fell into the part of Salesforce service, and Salesforce provides these all data model right on the very beginning. You can also go ahead and create new fields as per your requirement. So in a particular deal, if you want, you can create new fields. The alternate way to create fields is also via going to setup, and in quick search you can do opportunity or the object name for which you want to create that particular field.
Hi, in this slide I'm going to explain a bit more about entity relationship and how to create them. The topic is going to revolve around lookup, master details, and its various combinations. First, let us start with what is a lookup. A lookup, as in simple terms explained by Salesforce itself, creates a relationship that links an object to another object. The relationship field allows user to click on a lookup icon to select a value from a pop-up list. So a pop-up is going to open with the list of values, which obviously you can filter, that is another thing. The other object is the source of the values in the list. In my terms, lookup can be used to create various other relationships to solve real-world problems. Relationships like one-to-one, one-to-many, a self-lookup, basically a self relationship, or a many-to-many junction object can also be created via help of a lookup. A one-to-one relationship and one-to-many is actually the different faces of the same coin, which is the lookup itself, in which the object in which a lookup is created, if we look from that object, it is a one-to-one relationship. Like an opportunity is always going to have one account as a lookup in it. But if we look from the angle of the other object which we have taken as a lookup, it will appear as one-to-many. Like an account is going to have many opportunities. The third is self-lookup. Now a self-lookup is used to identify, or to say used to relate an object to itself, as in the case of account. An account having a parent account. It's like a company having a parent company, having another parent company on top of it. That explains the self-lookup. The fourth option is many-to-many junction object. Now I'm going to explain that in great detail, but as of now, all you need to understand is when you want to have a many-to-many relationship, you will have to create a junction object in Salesforce. That's the simplest way. And the junction object is going to have two lookups or two master detail relationship to those two objects with which the many-to-many relationship should happen. Now it completely depends upon the requirement. What is the requirement? How the junction object needs to be created. Example, do you actually want one particular object to be related to other, and so on. So there are a lot of conditions on that. Let us keep that for coming slides. The second option which Salesforce provides is master detail. That is nothing but a field. So master detail, as Salesforce, in the words of Salesforce itself, it very nicely elaborates. Like master detail creates a special type of parent-child relationship between this object, which is the child or the detail, and the other object. So if you want to create a master detail, you will be creating a master detail relationship on the child object, and you will be making a kind of lookup or a master detail to the parent. The relationship field is required on all detail records. Straightforward, nothing complex to understand. The ownership and sharing of the detailed record are determined by the master record. Now that is the point which needs to be taken care of before planning the data model. So it simply means that if a master record is deleted, the child will get also deleted. If a particular user is having ownership of the master record, it will also own the child records. If a user can view master record, it can view the child records as well, and so on. The fourth point is very important to understand, that you can create roll-up summary fields on the master record to summarize the detailed records. So imagine if you want to know the number of child records or a formula field or the maximum out of those child records, you can create a roll-up summary field on the parent object. Remember that. And then you can create those formula fields to roll up to actually calculate some values from the child object. That explains the two fields, basically the several relationships. Before we jump to the next slide, I'll try to give a demo. I will log into my Salesforce account and I'll try to show you how to create those lookups, those master detailed relationships. Let's jump on to another.
So let me show you how to create a lookup and a master detail relationship. So first, let me work on a completely new object. That way we can also learn how to create an object. So I'm going to create two objects, one as project. So I'll put in the multiples for project as projects, and I'll as I have already explained further details, like in past video tutorials, what all are these features. I'll just go ahead and quickly create this particular object. So we have our project object ready. Now for a particular project, it can have multiple bugs. So I'm going to create another object as bug, and I'm going to assign the plural of it as bugs. So once that is created, now what I need to do is, bug is going to be the child, and a lookup on child needs to be created of the parent so that it comes up in a related list. So I'll go ahead and click on new custom field. I'll select a lookup, And as you can see in the lookup, it already explains what it is going to be its purpose, to create and link other object. So I'll click on next. I'll select the object which is my project, custom object, and I'll click on next, and I'll save the field name as the same project. It is a good practice that you enter the description and the help text as and when required. At least the description should go in over here. I'll quickly go ahead and do next and create that particular relationship. Now once that relationship is created, you can also add it on the page layout. So it is added. So let me quickly go ahead and create two tabs, one for bugs and one for project, so that we can view them. So I'll create a custom object tab and one for bug and one for project. So I'll quickly go ahead and select again the description. Don't miss the description, it's not a good practice. So we'll be creating tabs and I'm going to assign it to the different custom apps. So custom apps, as you can see in these apps, it will come up. So my bugs tab is already there, it is coming up over here. Now I'll go ahead and quickly create another tab for projects. So I'll go ahead and quickly do next and complete the wizard. I'll assign it to the different custom apps. So you can see bugs and projects are there. So I can go ahead and quickly create a project. My project will be anything. Let me have test as the project name. And you can see that the bug is coming in as a related list under the project. So when I try to create a new bug, it will ask me about the project to which I am going to assign it. So if it is a testing bug for the test project, I can simply assign it and I can save it. So I hope this makes sense. This particular lookup gives us the filter to search on it. We can also have a filter on which particular projects it can add into, making it a customized one. I hope this explains the relationship between two objects as a lookup, and if I want, I can make it a master detail as well. So the reason being, so the first step, you should always ask questions like why do we need a master detail, or why do we need only a lookup? So whenever you get an answer like, okay, the child cannot exist without a parent, then its obvious answer is master detail. So in this particular case, a bug cannot exist independently. A bug should always be in a particular project. A project will have bugs, right? So I'm going to change the type and I'm going to make it master detail. So again, I'll go back to the object, and in my particular object bug, I have this project. So I'm going to edit it and I'm going to change the field type. So with master detail, you get a lot of added advantage, as you can read it, as I've already explained. So if I do next and I make sure that all the details are saved, and now if I go back to the tab and I try to create a new bug, you can see that the project is also become mandatory. So if I enter a UI testing bug in it, then obviously I'll have to select a project related to it. Only then it is going to save. I can also have various other fields and formula relationships created by the help of those relationship. Like I can create a summary formula field on the parent. So if I go to the object project, which is the parent in this particular case, I can create a summary formula field. You can see that now a roll-up summary formula field is enabled in this case because this is the parent to a particular object. And I can select, suppose I can add in number of bugs. So I can add in, I can do a select the particular object, I can count the number of bugs in that particular project, and I can click on next, and I can click on save. I have added it to the page layout as well. So if I go to that particular project test, you can see that number of bugs are 2 and 2 are there in the list. So I hope this explains a lot about the relationships, how they are dependent, and what all advantage we can take out of it. Let's jump on to our next slide.
Hi. In this particular slide, I'm going to explain the real world scenario on how to determine the appropriate data model. I'm going to help you out with analyzing and formulating, basically putting a process of how to understand a particular requirement whenever a problem or a requirement is given to you, so that you come up with a perfect data model which will fit in as a perfect solution. So as soon as you get a particular requirement, try out the following steps. Now these all steps are tested out by me, and in fact they are a summarization of several steps which I have always taken while designing a data model. So the very first step is listing out all the nouns, verbs, pronouns in the same way how we used to do in object-oriented class. We will have to make sure that we list out all the nouns, because nouns can be identified as an object. It's just like reading through a story, but with a pen and paper and noting down every detail of it. Now once you have identified the objects, try to fit them in Salesforce CRM data model. The lead, assets, accounts, contacts, contracts, orders, products, price books, and various other objects which Salesforce already provide. So try to fit in them with the existing Salesforce CRM data model. Always try to avoid creating new objects. Instead, try to use Salesforce CRM data model. I have seen several times inexperienced developers do this mistake. They create a new opportunity, a new product. That simply shows that A, either they are not aware of the existing Salesforce CRM, or B, they don't know how to configure the existing Salesforce CRM data model. So we are not going to do that mistake. We are going to fit in the objects from the problem into the Salesforce CRM data model. The third step and the key step is finding relationship between the objects discovered. Try to identify any hierarchy or dependencies between those 2, 3, 4 objects which you have noted down. There will always be a case in which a couple of objects will be related. One way or the other will be having some dependencies, existential dependencies, calculative dependencies, whatever. Whenever there is a one-to-one relationship or a one-to-many relationship, it can be easily fit in or created via a lookup field from the child object to the parent object. The same goes with a junction object. Whenever there is a many-to-many relationship, we should try to approach the problem via a junction object solution. The third step is obviously the master detail relationship. Now, whenever there is a dependent relationship between objects with cascading deletion or a mandatory parent should be established via master detail field. Now, once you have noted down all the relationships, the fourth step should be list out all the properties of those objects. Properties are nothing but the fields in Salesforce for storing data. Fields like rich text area to store information which are graphical in nature. Large text areas to store long set of strings, information, terms and conditions, all those values. Numbers, date, time, URL, numeric, those all fields can be used in Salesforce directly. All you need to do is go ahead and try to create each one of them and you will know its usage. So you need to understand, mark them out from the data model. Couple of other key concepts also revolve around custom settings. So in a particular problem, if you see couple of values being repetitive, which can be defined as global, can be considered into custom settings. In step 5, we'll make sure we are keeping the properties with the right object. There might be some properties which are interrelated between two objects. They can be saved in junction objects as well. So we are not going to do a mistake of assigning properties of one object into another. That way, at the end of the
So last two steps are don't create too many fields in a single object. Remember, Salesforce has governor limits. So those are pretty much a strict governor limits and we should follow them. In order, if we need a couple of extra fields like more than whatever is the limit, we can contact Salesforce to increase them. But be very careful while creating unnecessary fields, duplicate fields, fields with values which can be which already exist, which can be formulated. The last step is obviously to list out features, in fact functions for the objects. So the features and functions can be actually created via workflow rules, validation rules, buttons, and different operations via programming or the configurational part of Salesforce. Now, let me give you a good exercise to do in order to follow all these steps and understand how we are going to implement this. So let me quickly show you a particular example. So all you need to do is you can go into Google and you can do a search by my name and a 5-day assignment program. So I have created this 5-day assignment program under my website. You can see. So each day defines a well defined exercise. So the first day assignment is pretty much all about programming. It's series and how to generate them in Salesforce. You can use execute anonymous to generate all these series. So there will be questions and each question is going to have a programming answers to it. So it's like for this particular question, print a series to get an output 1.3, 1.31. So you can use Salesforce math function, and after trying out you can also use the method, or you can go through this example which is already framed. But from day 2 till day 5 series, this particular exercise, these have a requirement, a set of requirement in which you will have to create a data model, a couple of fields, the right relationship between them, and the various ways by which we can achieve those requirements, either by customization or by development. So just as an example, in this particular scenario, what I'm asking the users to do is, imagine there is a university like St. Jude's which wants its Salesforce account to get configured by us. So you can see, like, a student can register multiple courses and a class can have multiple courses, and each course can have multiple students. So it's a very short sentence, but in it has a lot of information, like what could be the relationship between a student and a course, what could be the relationship between a course and a class. So all those information can be pretty much defined, and if you go to the solution, you can see that how we are trying to relate everything in a very simple way. Further, in each next question, you can get several other challenges like that, and you can in fact proceed with solving all these challenges. The same goes with day 2 assignment. It is also having, so day 1, day 2, part 1, part 2, both of them are entirely based on data model. It's very useful. I would suggest every new fresher guy who is fresh for Salesforce should go ahead and try them out and take it as an alternative to the Salesforce workbooks. So this is also having a lot of good information on it. So let me end this particular video right now, and also I'll be making another video for second part of it, and in which I'm going to explain the rest of the topics. So thank you. I hope you liked this video.